Hey, how's it going, Reggie?
Hey man, how you doing?
Good. Nice to chat with you.
Yeah, good to talk to you again, man. How,
Hey.
how's everything going? Looks like you got an off day today.
Yeah. It's actually a packing day. We're leaving here in a few hours to fly to Denver.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Lots of good shows coming up, man. Lots of good shows.
Yeah.
So you guys are coming Burlington, Iowa, June 15th. You're playing Steamboat Days. It's a big show. For one, Iowa is actually where you guys kicked off the Unleashed tour, so you guys are coming back, which is really cool. And it's my hometown, which is even more cool. So it's going to be a
Well,
good
that's even better.
yeah, it's gonna be a good show, man. It's been a busy album cycle for you guys. I mean, you guys are playing everywhere, nonstop, all of the festivals. I mean, just looking back, the last time you and I talked was in September, a couple weeks after the record came out. Fast forward 10 months late, 9, 10 months later. I mean, looking back on this album cycle, how has this one compared to Rise and then Awake and other albums?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it has been busy. The cool thing is it's been a lot of fun. I've just had a really, just honestly, a great time. I've loved the tours we've been doing and the shows we've been doing. We did a lot of headlining stuff,
Yeah.
which, when Riot came out, we were doing a lot of co-bills and a lot of openings. Yeah, they were all really great. I loved it. But there's nothing like doing your own headlining tours
Exactly.
and seeing those fans, man. It's so cool. This reminds me a little bit more of the Awake cycle,
Yeah.
which was, very, very busy. Was even busier, actually. And, but it was fun because everything was going well and the band was just gelling and the shows were great and radio was playing the music. So it feels a little bit like that. So I got to say, I'm having a really great time, even though it's been a little bit, a little chaotic and a little busy, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, this is the first full album cycle that Johnathan Chu hasn't been on. He was finished up Rise. I mean, how has that affected you guys when it comes to the live show?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I mean, I'm a big Chu fan.
Yes.
And he's an amazing performer. Not only a great, I mean, he's a great player. You just don't expect someone to perform as well as him. So he was just such a great asset. But it's one of those kind of things that, like, when you see the show without him, you kind of forget, because there's so much going on in a Skillet show, so much energy, and there's so much new things to look at. Each song has its own kind of, I find, like, identity in terms of what the band is doing and the production. And so I'm not really sure that it's something that we needed to replace.
Okay.
And we have had some shows where we've had some violinists join, but in some senses it was like, you know what, let's just kind of do what we do and create some different kind of moments. And that's what we've done. The show has got a lot of different aspects to it, which are pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as shows and fun, I mean, the festivals this year, I mean, I know you're a big fan of the 80s rock and stuff like that. How cool has it been to see your name on the same banner as Def Leppard and Metallica?
Sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was texting all of my friends, when Def Leppard was playing. Tweeting, texting, Facebook, whatever. You never, or at least I don't, never grow out of the bands that I loved. Still the bands that I listen to the most. When I go for a run, my playlist is pretty much going to be filled with, Metallica and AC/DC and Def Leppard and Crew and Skid Row and whatnot, Maiden.
Yes.
So yeah, you don't really outgrow that kind of stuff.
No, never. Rock festivals, they've been fun, but they've also been kind of up and down because the weather has been so bad at the festival this year. Rock on the Range and then Rocklahoma. I mean, with Rocklahoma, were you guys able to avoid the weather, or did that affect you guys on the day that you guys played?
On both, we were fine at all the festivals. now. They've been, the weather's been kind of crappy, but we've been able to perform. On that one night when, Rock on the Range had to shut down for 5 or 6, 7 hours, we were playing a different show up in Illinois, and we played the whole show, but it was outside. It was 42 degrees and raining and blowing rain on the stage. But you know what, man? The fans stayed and they sang and had a good time. I was amazed everyone stayed. It was bitterly cold. But the fans made it fun. So it has been a nasty season for festivals, man.
It really has. The frustrating thing for Rock on the Range for me was that was actually our honeymoon. Rock on the Range was our honeymoon.
Oh God. Oh, that's nasty. Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't tell her it was Rock on the Range when I told her the lineup. I just told her that you guys and I Prevail and all these other bands were on it, and she said we had to go, and so it worked out pretty good. Then I told her it was Rock on the Range and it was the honeymoon, and it was a whole thing, but it worked out really well. She wants to go back. So, right. And who else can say that Skillet and Metallica is your honeymoon? I mean, that's like the best thing ever.
Absolutely.
Man, the set list for this To Recycle This record is so comprehensive. I mean, obviously there's not a lot of room for the earlier stuff. I mean, you guys are playing stuff from Awake, Comatose, Rise, Unleashed. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, are there any songs from Unleashed that you have wanted to throw into the set list for this time around that you haven't been able to? I mean, for me, I would love to see the trifecta of Awake and Alive, Not Gonna Die, and then I Want to Live thrown together at some point.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I Want to Live is the one that I kind of wish we could play. And of course, I'm not saying we couldn't, but you do kind of run out of, you're running out of time. And, I actually I still think there's a possibility that I Want to Live is a radio single. And if it becomes a radio single, then obviously you begin to play it, which is wonderful. And, I think that one of the things that Skillet has to ride the line on is we have songs like I Want to Live that feel very reminiscent of earlier Skillet songs, like Rebirthing or Awake and Alive. It feels like that, and I think that a lot of our fans want, they like that. But at the same time, you want to kind of do something that's new and doesn't necessarily feel reminiscent of older stuff that feels like the next chapter. So we try to do both, and in trying to do both, a lot of times what happens is that the label or the producer or management or whoever, sometimes everybody's on the same page. And so I think that I Want to Live was one of those songs that the label didn't really want on the record, and didn't really believe in, but that I believed in, because I know there are people like yourself that say, yeah, but that's what I really like about Skillet, because no one else really sounds like that. So why not do a little bit of that on the record? So hopefully it'll become a single and I'll be proved right, and then I can brag about it on our next interview.
Of course. Well, just like with the Resistance, you told me in Chicago that jam session at the end was just kind of, I'm right, this is what I want to do, and it worked out so well. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and talking about things that are reminiscent, for me personally, I love stuff like Out of Hell and whatnot, because that sounds even more reminiscent of stuff from on like Invincible or Hey You, I Love Your Soul, really classic stuff. It has the new spin on it too. There's so just full circle on this record. It works really well.
Well, that's cool.
So,
well, thanks. I'm glad that I'm that's really cool that you know enough of our older stuff to make those kind of connections. That's really cool.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the Back from the Dead video. The video is so cool, and zombie theme and awesome, and reminds me of 28 Days Later a lot. But it also is kind of a continuation of the Monster video a little bit. It talks about it at the beginning. It really cool, linking them together. Was that something you wanted to do going into that video?
Yeah, that was part of the kind of the treatment of it, is what if we have an extension of it, kind of a sequel, and at the same time, again, you're kind of retreading a little bit of the past, but how do we make it new and exciting? And I think I love 28 Days Later.
Yes.
I thought that was really good. And I like Walking Dead and all that, of course,
Mm-hmm.
is pop culture, but I really felt that the precursor to Walking Dead was 28 Days Later.
Mm-hmm.
So we were kind of going, how do we kind of update this and make it fun, but also kind of tongue-in-cheek, a little touch of horror, but also it's just kind of fun, it's kind of action and a little sci-fi, and so pulling in some of maybe the Mad Max elements, if you want to call it that, a little post-apocalyptic, and
a little bit.
And it was just fun to do something that didn't have to be serious, because that's what Back from the Dead is to me. It's not an uber serious song, and that's why I thought it was cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it translates so well live. I mean, that's one of those songs that the crowd at the beginning, but the crowd gets going, and then you guys get going, and it just keeps on just building, and it's a fun live song. I mean, I'm so glad you guys threw it in there. I mean, it's great.
Cool.
Speaking of live, I mean, of all the times I've seen you guys, whether you have all the pyro full production or just the smoke or nothing whatsoever, it's always a fun show that you can get into. But how do you guys decide which shows? Obviously, with this tour cycle, there hasn't been much pyro, but when there is, how do you guys decide which shows you use it on, which shows you don't?
Yeah, it's always hard because it's like in the last few weeks, like every single show is different.
Mm-hmm.
One show we play for 35 minutes, in the middle of the day at Rock on the Range.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, okay, I could do pyro if they let me, if it fits on stage,
right.
But you're not going to really see it anyway. It's not going to have the effect. It's not dusk or nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those things kind of end up becoming, if they're opening gigs, a lot of the times you don't have a choice. In other words, maybe you're even disallowed to do it. Mm-hmm. So then sometimes we have headlining gigs at like a fair or something like that, and it's a one-off, and you get into, do we really want to ship stuff here in order to use it for one show? So it always kind of depends, but to tell you the truth, it's quite a lot of work. It's a little bit of you got to sit down for a few hours with a calendar, with production manager, and you go through every show and you say, all right, this show we want, X, Y, and Z, and this show we can only do Z. And then for this tour, everything has to be done. You got to put a lot of thought into it. But the good news about a Skillet show is that, as you mentioned, even, we go to Europe, we don't bring any production. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in Europe. We hire lighting over there, and that's it. But it's really the energy and the excitement and kind of like the passion of the band. Mm-hmm. Really, I think, is what drives a Skillet show, and that's what people always tweet me and say, that at the Skillet shows they feel part of like a community, and they feel that it inspired, and it makes them feel better about their life, things like that. I think that's more to do with like the passion of the band and the music. So the good news is the Skillet show is kind of already that experience, and then when we add production on top of it, it kind of takes it a little bit over the top to the next level, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that you've said in shows that I really liked was when you played an indie here earlier this year, you mentioned whether you're a Christian, Satanist, atheist, it doesn't matter. At a Skillet show, you can come together and just forget about all of that stuff, and it doesn't matter anymore because you're going to get something out of it. And it's very true.
That's great. Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, man, June 15th, you guys will be in Iowa. I'm driving from Indianapolis to Burlington, Iowa that day, watching the show, and coming back because I work at 9 a.m. the next day in Indianapolis. It's going to be a good time.
Oh.
It's gonna be great. I cannot wait. My mom is coming. It'll be her first Skillet show. It's gonna be a fun time. So we will see you guys in Burlington, Iowa in about a week and a half.
Awesome. I love it. Well, it's great chatting with you.
Definitely, man. Thank you so much for taking time today. It's always fun, and we'll see you in Iowa.
All right. See you very soon.
See you, man. We'll later.
All right. Later.
See ya. Thanks, Kevin.